I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC welterweight contenders Della Maddalena versus Sean Brady is in the works for UFC 290 International Fight Week. I believe that one is a welterweight bout between two top 15 UFC welterweight contenders, Sean Brady and the surgeon Della Maddalena is reportedly targeted for UFC 290. An Australian MMA journalist that goes by the name something on Twitter was among the first to report the news, the breaking news. The journalist also broke Maddalena's latest fight versus Randy Brown at UFC 284 earlier this year. Maddalena went on to defeat Randy Brown by first round submission. If the report is true, Maddalena will face the toughest test of his UFC tenure against Sean Brady before a loss to Bilal Muhammad. Sean Brady lost to Bilal Muhammad. Brady had won his first 15 professional fights. He was undefeated before he fought Bilal Muhammad last year. I believe it was last October. Let me see. Maddalena was a Dana White Contenders Series alum, has earned four straight finishes since earning a UFC contract. He earned a shot in the UFC by defeating some person on the Dana White Contender Series in 2021 before making his way into the UFC octagon. Maddalena earned the Eternal MMA Welterweight Championship. He defended the belt four times before getting the Dana White Contender Series invite. Brady's first career loss was preceded by recent victories over Chiesa and Matthews. Brady enjoyed successful stints in LFA and cage fighting before making it into the UFC. If the Maddalena versus Brady report proves true, the welterweight bout adds to a pretty stacked UFC 290 card. The event recently added Robert Whitaker versus Dracus Duplessis and Turner versus Hooker in the lightweight division. Turner and Hooker in the middleweight will be, I think it's a I believe it's a number one title eliminator, number one contender fight, Whitaker versus Duplessis. But yeah, Maddalena versus Sean Brady, that's a good one. I thought they would give Maddalena maybe one more contender outside of the top 10 before giving him someone, as high as Sean Brady in the top 10. That's a pretty, that's going to be a really, really tough test. But we have to see what Sean Brady looks like, Bilal Muhammad finished Sean Brady, so it wasn't like a unanimous decision or a split decision loss to Bilal Muhammad. He got finished in his last fight, and his last fight was in October. Sean Brady's was. So we'll see where he's at. Does he want to stay in the top 10? If he loses to Maddalena, Sean Brady's clearly going to fall out of a very, 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 very tough lightweight, welterweight division, and then Maddalena will move up. Maybe if Sean Brady loses, I would say the loser of this fight and the winner of this fight should probably fight the loser and the winner of Wonderboy Thompson versus Michelle Pereira. Like whoever, let's say Thompson wins and Della Maddalena. If those two win, I think they should fight. And if Sean Brady and Pereira loses, I think those two should fight. They're all in the top 15, and they kind of fight around the same time. I believe the Michelle Pereira versus Wonderboy Thompson is at UFC 289. Don't quote me. I'm an MMA casual, so I don't remember everything, but I believe Michelle Pereira versus Wonderboy Thompson, that's going to be a UFC 289. That's in Canada. And then on the 290 card, you'll have these two welterweight contenders. I would like to see one of them, the two winners of those two fights fight each other. If not, whoever, one of the two winners, they're gonna have to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't know what's happening with Chimaev. He's like the number one contender in the welterweight division and the number one contender in the middleweight division. I have no idea what's happening with Chimaev. We haven't heard anything about Chimaev. We also have Gilbert Burns fighting Bilal Muhammad. Those two are gonna fight UFC 288. So the welterweight division is on fire. It is very, very hot. I know a lot of people love the UFC lightweight division, but in my opinion, and like I said, I'm an MMA casual, but in my opinion, as of right now, my favorite division is the welterweight division. I really, 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 really like the contenders in the welterweight division. There are a lot of problems in the welterweight division, and one name that no one's ever talking about is Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't know, with Gilbert Burns fighting Bilal Muhammad, with Chimaev not talking about we haven't heard anything about Chimaev, Kobe Covington fighting Leon Edwards. Maybe that leaves Shavkat Rakhmonov to fight Kamaru Usman. Oh, that's a nasty fight, right? Maybe that's gonna be left for Shavkat Rakhmonov, but we'll see. Maybe the winner of this fight maybe fights Shavkat Rakhmonov, or maybe if Wonderboy Thompson and Pereira, the winner of that fight, fights Shavkat Rakhmonov. Who knows? We'll see. But let me know your opinion of this story. I know Jack Della Maddalena is like the new hot thing, so we'll see what he's like facing a top 10 contender. But the problem with a victory over Sean Brady right now is that it may not age well, right? With him coming off of his first loss to Bilal Muhammad, if he loses to Jack Della Maddalena, then people are going to look at it like, well, yeah, he wasn't really about that life. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But this is a fight. In many ways, people are looking at it like Jack Della Maddalena should win this fight. So we'll see. I don't have a pick as far. I just think it's a great fight. Like I said, the UFC welterweight division is my favorite division at the moment, with Bilal Muhammad facing Gilbert Burns at UFC 288. At UFC 289, Michelle Pereira versus Wonderboy Thompson. UFC 290, we got Sean Brady versus Jack Della Maddalena. So the UFC welterweight division, keep your eyes on it. Is a lot going on and a lot to come. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about the UFC welterweight division, my favorite division. Jack Della Maddalena versus Sean Brady is reportedly, allegedly, in the works for UFC 290, UFC International Fight Week. I believe that's headlined by Alexander Volkanovski versus Jair Rodriguez, the featherweight championship. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button. And please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.